Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between Pete Buttigieg on the Democratic side versus the Republican contender J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance, of course, current vice president. He primarily was most well known before he entered politics as being a well-known author. He then ran for a Senate seat in Ohio. He ultimately won that, and that he did not finish his term, though. However, he was picked as Trump's running mate during the 2024 election, and then, of course, Trump won in 2024, so he is now the vice president. And as far as Pete Buttigieg goes, he was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and then he ran for the Democratic primary in 2020, and he actually did fairly well. But he did end up dropping out and endorsing the Biden campaign. And then shortly following that, Biden appointed him to the Secretary of Transportation position, where he got some federal experience. And now he has been floated as a potential 2028 Democratic nominee. And I thought it would be fun to do a prediction between these two. So I will start with the state with the fewest amount of electoral college votes and end with the biggest. So that means we're going to start out with Nevada. I think this state will fairly easily go to Pete Buttigieg. I'm going to put it in the lean blue margin. The state did go red in 2024 and has a Republican governor, but I think many of the trends that help that occur for Republicans have largely been reversed. We've seen Democrats very consistently outperform Republicans in the post-2024 elections, during the special elections that have taken place. And then, of course, the midterms will give us a more cohesive idea of which way the country is leaning, including the state of Nevada. But for now, if the election were to be held today between these two candidates, I think Nevada would go to Buttigieg by a lean margin. And then I will get to the state of Arizona. Arizona, I do think will be closer. I'm going to put that into the tilt blue margin, and that is going to be the state of Arizona. I do think it would be narrower. Biden was able to win Arizona in an environment that was good for Democrats, definitely not as good as it is now. Referencing 2020 when he won the presidential election, so I think Arizona is definitely in play. And then I accidentally skipped over Wisconsin. But first of all, we'll go to the swing district here in Nebraska. This district even went to Harris in 2024. It was the only really competitive race that the Harris campaign won. And I think if it can go blue in 2024, it can certainly go blue were to be held today. And I think Pete Buttigieg would probably win it by a wider margin than Harris won it in 2024. Nothing too surprising there. But then we'll get to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I've previously had most of the Rust Belt states in the somewhat in the tilt blue margin. And I think I'm willing to, we've seen Democrats really consistently outperform, even in Wisconsin with the Supreme Court election. If I remember correct, the most recent one showed resulted in a Democrat plus 20 environment, a 40 to 60 election results can pull that off. They can probably get a 3-point margin in the state of Wisconsin. It may end up being in the tilt, but regardless, I think that state would be in Pete Buttigieg's column. And then next up, we're going to go to Michigan. I think Michigan would probably be closer. This state, if I remember correctly, is now Buttigieg home state. So I think he was first from Indiana. And then if I remember correctly, he now resides in Michigan. And I think that he would be able to win his home state. J.D. Vance is, of course, winning his home state, although Ohio is certainly less competitive than those three Rust Belt states. Those three Rust Belt states are really crucial for a campaign to win, to secure the presidency. But Ohio going for J.D. Vance, while Michigan goes for Pete Buttigieg. And that brings Buttigieg very close to a victory, 268 to 219. And then we're going to head down to the third and second remaining last states to call. I will start out with North Carolina. This is where I think that J.D. Vance will get the first bit of good news for his campaign, resulting in a Republican victory in the state of North Carolina, 16 more electoral college votes for Vance. Georgia, however, I think will be a different call. I had considered putting it in the lean margin, but I think really all these swing states are going to be close. They are by nature swing states, regardless of who the candidate is. But I think Buttigieg's moderate messaging, an attempt to appeal to independents and moderate Republicans, would be enough of a selling point to win the state of Georgia. So that's going to be 16 electoral college votes for the Pete Buttigieg campaign, and that brings him over the edge to 284 to 235. And then I do think if J.D. Vance were to win a Rust Belt state, it would probably be the state of Pennsylvania. I do think if Wisconsin's going lean blue and Michigan is also going blue just by less extensive of a margin, I think that Pennsylvania would probably follow. So I'm going to put that state into the Buttigieg campaign, resulting in 303 electoral college votes for the Democrat, Pete Buttigieg, to 235 for the Republican, J.D. Vance. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.